Painting, can it be a profitable side hustle? I would say yes, and I'll tell you why. So before this last year, maybe the last 2 years, I was most of my experience in painting had been all on my own home or homes that I'd worked on to live in and flip at some point. Walls, trim, ceiling, interior, exterior, done it all at some point. Brushed, rolled, sprayed, done a little bit of everything. So we get about one every 2 months, one every other month. We get a paint job where somebody's just run into a stopping point where they can't find a painter. They've waited too long, the price is too high, whatever it is. I thought the town that we were in had a lot of painters in it, but it seems like there's still enough room for people like myself to go out and make a good living doing it. So I didn't really ever feel like it was my thing because I didn't have the most steady hand or the skill for the fine work. Like I said, I could tape, roll, brush, but it took more time than I thought it was worth to actually make any real money doing it. Then I partnered with my son, and he has all the skill to do the fine cut-in work, and I could roll, and I could do all the big stuff, and he could do the small stuff, around the ceiling, around the floor, around the trim, and we would just about finish right, where each of us had our own thing, and we could wrap up the time in just about the right amount of time. So like I said, needless to say, there was quite a demand for us and for people that can paint and do that, to be able to do it at a reasonable price because people were backed up. The normal painters, the big guys, even the small guys, were backed up for months in some cases. I talked to a friend of mine that he had been on somebody's list for about 6 months. He finally got him to do it. We were already booked up, or we would have done his as well. So, and there's definitely an opportunity for it. So, we started painting in between other side jobs, evenings, weekends. Like I said, one referral, like everything else, led to another and another and another. So we did a lot of this summer when my son was saving money to buy his first home. He's 19, so anybody can do it. Um, lots of referrals, and we made, I would say, over the summer from just those, about $10,000 from doing that in between other side jobs, just because there was enough demand for it. Most everything we were doing, anywhere from touch ups to, hey, a cleanup for a flip, or somebody who had just moved in and they needed a room painted a different color, or they wanted to clean up the room that was there that the people left behind. We did cabinets, we did walls, we did ceilings, we did just about everything. Um, we sprayed, we did one room completely navy. We partnered with um, a local interior designer with a little bit different taste. I called it the Smurf room, but it turned out looking really nice. I would call it stately, if you will. So there's lots of different ways that you can get in with different people to do that. So some of the great things about painting, in my opinion, it's pretty low startup cost. You need minimal tools. Materials typically were billed separately and usually fairly reasonable. A lot of times people would provide their own paint. If they didn't provide their own paint, we would go buy the paint and get reimbursed for it and add some cost on top of that just for our time. The pay per job and the pay per hour, even as a two-man crew, was very good for this summer. We try to price everything where we make about $50 an hour each, if we can. If we can do it per job. We typically don't price it out per hour just because we don't like to work that way. The work is mostly indoors, unless you're on an exterior project, and we did a couple of those. But during the hot Texas summers, we had some great indoor work while we were in between other side jobs. You can do it any time of the day. We did a lot of these at night since we're working other jobs and this is a side hustle. We're able to do a lot of these at night as well and not have to worry about lighting or anything else. So it worked out well. Some of the bad things about painting, brushes and rollers, some of that equipment always needs to be replaced over and over. It can be a messy job. There's a lot of prep work that goes into it. Lots of tape, lots of cover, lots of plastic, making sure that you're protecting the people's homes that you're in. And it can be a little bit messy. I would say, in my opinion, it's best if it's a two-man job because you can work at a better pace. You have somebody doing the cut-in work, the fine work, while somebody else is rolling, and you can just about meet up, and it keeps it at a pretty good level. If it was a one-man job, you could definitely get it done. So that's a definite another good thing about it. You can do it as a one-man job. I prefer it to be a two-man job. If you want to spray, it's best to buy one, even if it's an inexpensive one. We have a couple of small sprayers that we use for spray jobs when needed. Sometimes we do them exterior, we've done some interior, just depending on what it is. We'll also use that a lot of times for furniture just because it makes a really nice finish on it, and we'll back brush it or back roll it if we need to, but it's super helpful to have at least a small sprayer. You can pick one up at Lowe's or Home Depot in the $200 range. You can also pick them up at pawn shops, Facebook Marketplace, all the things I like to talk about all the time. If you get into this, it's another one of those things that can pay for itself over time. You can have one job that pays for it, and then it's every time after that, you're going to just make money using it. How do you know how to price a job? This has been one of the most important learning things for me. But I start with the site called HomeWise, homewise.com, and look for services and interior painting. What I do is I measure out the room, so measure out the wall length, and then measure out the floor to ceiling. If it's typically it's an 8 foot, sometimes it's 10, sometimes it's more. And then you can use that to use it in the calculator for square footage. I like to give if it's a 10 by 8, if it's a 10 by 8 wall, that's 80 square feet. And then you can put that in the calculator, and it will help you to gauge what the low end is and also what the high end is. And you can kind of go from there based on what your area is like and kind of get a gauge for when you start putting out bids to see how people respond to it. I normally go just a little bit off the low end, somewhere towards the low to middle, and have not really lost any jobs yet. And we've always made about what we wanted to per hour when we break it out that way. If you don't win the job, ask for any feedback from the customer to see if there's anything that you could have done differently to win the job. And that way you'll know how to bid better next time. So, like I said, it's a good side hustle. It's low cost for entry, and there's a lot of business out there for you.